Hi, my student in primary 5. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome back to Math Online Class with Miss Uma. Now we will continue chapter 1 whole number in lesson 5 and 6. Let's check it out. Lesson 5 talk about multiplying by 10, 100 or 1000.
A lobster has 10 legs. If there are 10 lobsters in a container, how many lobster legs are there in all? In this problem, we can say that 10 lobsters with 10 legs is equal to 10 tens. So it's the same as 10 times 10. So therefore, there are 100 lobster legs in all. Now, let's say there are 100 lobsters this time. So if we multiply 100 by 10, what do we get? It's the same as 10 hundreds, or equal to 100 times 10 is equal to 1,000. Now let's take a look at this one. If we multiply 1,000 by 10, what do we get? Yes, it's the same as 10 thousands, or 1,000 times 10 is equal to 10,000. Do you see a pattern now? So when multiplying numbers by 10, we simply retain the given number and append 1 0 at the end. So in this example, 100 times 10, we retain 100 and added 1 0 here. The same thing goes here. We copied 1,000 and appended 1 0 at the end. Now, numbers can also be multiplied by 10 easily by looking at the value of each digit. So for example, 321 times 10, it's the same as multiplying 3 hundreds by 10, 2 tens by 10, 1 by 10. So the product would be 3,000, 2 hundreds, and 1 10. Simplifying this is like 321 times 10, it's equal to 3,210. There's another way of multiplying a number by 10. We do this by using the place value chart like this. So if we want to multiply 61 times 10, we simply move each digit one place to the left like this. So from 6 tens, it will be moved to 6 hundreds, 1 10, and then the last process would be adding a 0 at the end. So 61 times 10 is equal to 610. Remember, when a number is multiplied by 10, each digit moves one place to the left and a 0 is added in the ones place. Let's take a look at another example. Suppose you want to get the value of 138 by 10. So moving each digit one place to the left, it will look like this. And then lastly, we add 1 0 in the ones place. So 138 times 10 is equal to 1,380. Now what about multiplying numbers by a multiple of 10? For example, 42 times 40. This can be done by breaking the numbers apart. So, it's the same as 42 times 4 times 10. This is how we broke down 40 by writing 4 times 10. So the next step would be multiplying 42 times 4. It will be equal to 168, and then multiply it again by 10. The final answer would be 1680. Second example, 137 times 30. Again, let's break this number apart by writing 3 times 10. So getting the product of these two numbers would be 411 times 10. The final answer is 4,110. Next example. Let's get the product of 282 times 60. Again, we'll use the same strategy. You break the number apart to help you multiply by tens. So here, we'll write 282 times 6 times 10. And then, get the product of these two numbers and multiply it by 10. And the answer would be 16,920. Lastly, let's multiply 3,052 by 20. So breaking down 20, it will become 2 times 10. So let's get the product of these two numbers. We'll have 6,104 times 10, and the answer is 61,040. Now, let's do the shorter way. So if we want to get the product of these two numbers, 55 times 70, first, you may just simply disregard the 0 first and focus on multiplying 55 by 7. And then, append the 0 at the end. So, 55 times 70 would be 3,850. Next example. Disregard the 0 first, multiply 100 times 9, and then you will get 654 plus 0 would be 6,540. And the last example is the same procedure like the what we did here. If we want to multiply a number by 100, we can use the same strategy by using the place value chart. But this time, we are going to move each digit 2 places to the left. So when a number is multiplied by 100, each digit in the number moves 2 places to the left, and 2 zeros are added in the ones and tens place. So here, from this place value, it will be moved here. So it will look like this. So the product of 538 and 100 is equal to 53,800. So the same step will be used if we want to multiply 206 by 1,000. So here, this time, we are going to move each digit in the number 3 places to the left. And then, 3 zeros are added in the ones, tens, and hundreds places. So the final answer would be 206,000. Now, let's do the shorter way of multiplying the numbers by 100 and 1,000. First one, 361 times 100 is 36,100. If you notice, we retained the given number and appended 2 zeros, since we have 2 zeros here. Next, 8,102 multiplied by 100 will give you 810,200. Third example, 637 times 1,000. We retain 637 and append 3 zeros at the end. So the final answer would be 637,000. And the last one, 1,124 times 1,000 will give us 1,124,000. So to multiply a number by 100 or 1,000, add zeros at the end of the number. This one, try to answer this on your own. Remember the strategy that we used before? You can break the numbers apart to help you multiply by 1,000. Did you get the same answer as mine? Try answering the second example, 1,022 times 7,000. Again, don't forget to break this number apart by writing 7 times 1,000. Get the product of the first two numbers. You will get this number. Multiply this by 1,000 and it will give you 7,154,000. Now, do the shorter way of multiplying these numbers. Disregard the 2 zeros first and focus on multiplying 822 times 7, and then append the 2 zeros at the end. Next one, 795 times 400. So if you get the product of 795 and 4, it's actually 3,180. And then we add 2 zeros at the end. So therefore, the final answer would be 318,000. And lastly, we have 2,037 times 2,000. It will give us 4,074,000. So remember, you can break numbers apart to help you multiply by hundreds or thousands. That concludes our lesson for today, and we can sum it up by knowing that numbers can be multiplied by 10, 100, and 1,000.
And now we will go to lesson 6, dividing by 10, 100, and 1,000.
In this lesson, students will be able to identify patterns and use procedures in division to divide a whole number by 10, 100, 1,000, and their multiples. To begin with, let's take a look at these questions. What is 2 times 3? What about 4 times 5? And 6 times 4? The answers are 6, 20, and 24. So what will happen if we divide these products by one of these factors, like 6 divided by 3, 20 divided by 5, and 24 divided by 4? What do we get? That's correct. We will get the remaining factor. So 6 divided by 3 is 2, 20 divided by 5 is 4, and 24 divided by 4 is 6. So what do you observe about the relationship of multiplication and division? Based on this, we can say that division is the inverse of multiplication. In the previous lesson, we talked about how to multiply whole numbers by multiples of 10. This is a useful skill for our new lesson. So let's have a short review first. Suppose we want to multiply 56 by 10, what answer will we get? It is a useful strategy to focus on non-zero numbers first. So if we want to multiply 56 times 10, it's the same as 56 times 1 will give us 56, and then we append 1 0 at the end. So if we have this example, 56 times 100, focus on the non-zeros. 56 times 1 is 56 with 2 zeros at the end, or simply 5,600. So multiplying 56 by 1,000 will give us 56 with 3 zeros at the end, or simply 56,000. Do you see the pattern now? Let's have another example. Let's say we want to multiply 12 times 30. 12 times 30 is the same as 3 tenths. So we can focus first on the non-zeros. So 12 times 3 is 36, and then we append 1 0 at the end. Multiplying 12 by 300 is the same as 36 with 2 zeros at the end. So the answer is 3,600. And the last example, 12 times 3,000 is the same as 36 with 3 zeros at the end, or simply 36,000. So what is actually happening when we multiply a number by a multiple of 10? In this example, 138 times 10, we can answer this by using the place value chart. And here, when we multiply these two numbers, the place value of each digit actually moves one place to the left like this. And the last step would be adding a 0 in the ones place. So 138 times 10, the answer is 1,380. So let's talk about division this time. What is the value of 430 divided by 10? We can use the same strategy. However, since we learned that division is the inverse of multiplication, we'll do the opposite way. So this time around, we will move the place value of each digit in the number one place to the right like this. So, the answer is 43. Let's have another example. 680 divided by 10. Again, let's move the place value of each digit one place to the right. So 680 divided by 10 will give us 68. So this time, let's try to simplify the process. If we want to divide 6,280 divided by 10, it's the same as chopping off the zeros in the sentence. So if we chop off 1 0 here, we'll do the same thing here. So it will give us 628. So the quotient of 6,280 divided by 10 is equal to 628. This time, let's try answering a bigger number, like 640 divided by 80. Here, this time, we can break the number apart to give us the answer. So 80 is the same as 8 tenths. So 640 divided by 10 would be easier to do first, and then later on we can divide this by 8. So getting the quotient of the two will give us 64 divided by 8, and therefore the final answer is 8. Another example, 720 divided by 80. Again, let's break this number apart. 80 is the same as 8 tenths. So it will be easier if we divide 720 by 10 first, and then later on divide it again by 8. So getting the quotient of these two will give us 72 divided by 8, and the final answer would be 9. Let's try answering more examples. 1240 divided by 40. 40 can be broken down by saying that this is the same as 4 tenths. So it's easier if we'll divide 1240 by 10 by 4. And this will give us 31. Last example, 6,360 divided by 30. First, we'll divide it by 10 and then divide again by 3. So 6,360 divided by 10 is 636. Divided by 3, the answer is 212. Remember, break the numbers apart to help you divide by tenths. Remember the place value chart that we used earlier? We can also use this when we multiply whole number by 100 and by 1,000. So let's try dividing 14,600 by 100. We will move each place value of each digit in the number 2 places to the right like this. Do you notice that the zeros disappeared? So 14,600 divided by 100 is the same as 146. Another example, 263,000 divided by 1,000. Let's move the place value of each digit in the number 3 places to the right, like this. So the final answer would be 263. Moving on, one last example to ensure that you know how to do this. 2,800 divided by 400. It is the same as 4 hundredths. So it will be easier if you will divide 2,800 by 100 first, and then later on divide it again by 4. So getting the quotient of these two will give us 28 divided by 4. And the final answer would be 7. Lastly, 3,600 divided by 400. This can be broken down by dividing 3,600 by 100 and then by 4. So the answer here will have 36 divided by 4. The answer is 9. I'm sure at this time you can answer your own now. 35,000 divided by 7,000 is equal to 5. 56,000 divided by 7,000 is equal to 8. Let us simplify the process now. 7,800 divided by 300. It's the same as chopping off some zeros here and there. So 78 divided by 3 will give us 26. So therefore, the answer to 7,800 divided by 300 is equal to 26. Next example. 68,000 divided by 4,000. Chop off some zeros here, another set of 3 zeros there. Please take note that when you chop off 3 zeros in your divisor, you will also do the same thing in your dividend. So 68 divided by 4 is equal to 17. Next one. 108,000 divided by 9,000. It's the same as chopping off the 3 zeros here and the 3 zeros there. So 108 divided by 9 is equal to 12. Therefore, 108,000 divided by 9,000 is simply 12. This concludes our lesson about dividing whole numbers by 10, 100, 1000, and their multiples.